Moving on, let's focus now on property investments. Where can you double your money in the country? And Magicbricks Now, we've been picking the hottest investment destinations for you. We talked about the city of Bangalore. We've talked about BKC. Chembur, unfortunately, covered in smoke right now. Henry Road, Thane. These are some of the hot spots we've talked about today. It's time to focus on Thane. What makes the location tick? What other locations will benefit from the job creation that we're seeing in Thane right now? And what sort of investment opportunities exist in Thane for you and me? Joining me in the studio right now, Sanjay Dutt, Managing Director, India at Cushman & Wakefield. Sanjay, thank you so much for joining us. We will have Niranjan and R.Irani join us in a bit as well. But before that happens, Sanjay, very quickly, if you look at all of the MMR region right now as investment opportunities, Thane seems to be interesting because of the job creation. 1.9 million square feet leased out to TCS. People will come and work there. Jobs will be created. They'll want to live somewhere. They'll want to rent somewhere. Does that make Thane interesting for you as as an investment opportunity?
Thane has always been a very interesting opportunity because really, if you go back, India's first petrochemical plant, NOSIL, was set up in that location. If you look at JNPT, which is the largest container capacity in the country, is doing extremely well. If you look at many other industries, the chemical industry overall was set up in Thane district. For example, it's over a 9 million population district surrounded by 30 million of Pune, Raigad and Mumbai city and Nasik at a distance. So where do you get 40 million population concentrated in less than 50 kilometers and with abundant supply of land and prospect? Thane was also one of the first one to get capital for infrastructure development. So whether it was Vashi or Sitco, which investment was made many years ago, and if you look at Thane as a city on the other side, and the progress has been tremendous.
Doesn't infrastructure need refreshment at this point? Thane is struggling with traffic issues, it's struggling with water supply, things like that. Has the infrastructure kept up to the growth that you're talking about?
So certainly, if you look at in the recent past, when I say recent means last 10 years, a lot of infrastructure investment has been made, but the growth has been even higher. So obviously a lot needs to be done to improve connectivity from the Mumbai city as well as to take care of future growth.
Right.
We did a recent study and we saw the new sector which is helping Thane create jobs is basically the IT sector and the outsourcing sector. Just on Thane-Belapur road between Thane city, you mentioned TCS earlier, and towards Juhinagar, you will see close to 15 million square feet that's going to come up. So close to another 30 to 40,000 jobs in the short term and long term, close to 100,000 jobs will get created. So enough opportunities in that place to double your money and enjoy a better lifestyle for a lot less overall.
Double your money in how much time, Sanjay?
Well, if you take into account the last 3 or 4 years where the prices have been more or less stagnant, with the exception of few cities in Thane which actually have done well despite the conditions where we are. And if you look at what price band you are, if you are at 4,000 to 5,000 rupees price band, you can go all the way to Kalyan, Dombivli and all those places. And if you can afford a different price band, Thane, Pokhran Road 2, for example, will give you close to 16,000 rupees.
I want to stop you there. I'm looking at a Cushman & Wakefield report that says property prices in Malad, Goregaon and Thane declined between 8 to 20% in 2015 from the year before. Thane specifically, it says, saw a decline of 18%. Will that decline not continue?
So I think markets are bottomed out. There are certain developers who must be feeling the heat because sales have not picked up, but there are very clear signs that the office absorption in this market has gone up, which means more jobs are getting created. We ourselves did the study that if you're going to have more than 35 to 40,000 jobs getting created, you will see a lift in the prices.
How long does that take to translate though?
So certainly it doesn't happen overnight. So you have to give this market close to 2 to 3 years minimum to see a meaningful impact in the market, and I think it will happen.
All right, let's ask R.Irani. R.Irani joins us now from Rustomjee. Boman, thanks for joining us. We're just talking about Thane. You yourself have about 127 acres around Thane which you're constructing on. Sanjay was telling us that the job creation will cause an uptick in residential property, but right now the market's a bit muted. Are you feeling the pressure in sales? What sort of sales have you seen in Thane over the last, say, 1 quarter?
So, Faye, actually what Sanjay said is that, if you want to enjoy a better lifestyle, Thane is really the place. We have seen that, in 2015, while the markets were a bit depressed, there is a little bit of enthusiasm in the market as of right now. And a lot of new inquiries or walk-ins are being generated. Just one simple thing like, the TCS deciding to move towards Thane and creating 10,000 jobs out there is creating a lot of buzz and enthusiasm in that area. Thane will also grow because by virtue of these 10,000 jobs being created, I'm just speaking about one place being created, you'll have a whole set of different, developments taking place, like shopping areas, schools, hospitals, etc. will also add, in Thane. And all these will, by virtue of that, again create revenue for the city as well as for the people living out there. In the last month, we've done extremely well, much better than we did in the last, 4 months before that. And I think this trend, we've seen quite an upswing taking place, and a lot of people, while they still think that, they're still confused about market reports about the prices going up or down, there's a strong enthusiasm coming in, and the developers going ahead and giving a certain amount of assurance to a consumer. There's a lot more, strong interest in Thane city. And let me just tell you one thing, why Thane over, let's say, most other parts of Mumbai. Like Sanjay said, there's a huge land opportunity out there in terms of openness. So Thane has some of the largest in terms of grounds. It has some of the best in terms of shopping malls. It has some of the very nicest in terms of schools that have come up out there. The roads to reach Thane from the city of Mumbai with the Eastern Freeway is roughly between about 45 and 50 minutes. If you left from the city of Mumbai trying to reach, let's say, Andheri, you would take a little more than that or a lot more than that. So even in terms of communication or commuting, it is far better. And then you've heard of all the fantastic infrastructure inputs that are coming into Thane. There's an entire underground pass from Borivali to Thane that's being built. The moment that gets done, you'll be able to cross from Borivali to Thane or Thane to Borivali in under 10 minutes. There's the entire expansion of your metro railway going all the way around from the highway, going all the way down Godbanda Road and linking up Mira Road on the other side. All these infrastructure will only add to the beauty or the sellability of Thane as a future location.
Well, fair enough, Boman, but the underground pass between Goregaon and Thane has met with a certain amount of resistance environmentally because it passes under the Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So we're not really sure how much time that's going to take. And within Thane, citizens have complained that maybe getting from Mumbai to Thane is not so much of a problem, but once you enter Thane city, traffic has become a bit of an issue as well, especially the Godbanda Road area, which had some construction on it, is still a challenge. So in terms of that, and I want to add to all of this the fact that while we were in conversation with the municipal commissioner, Thane did not make the top 20 of the smart city list, which means it lost out on that investment that would have come in from the central government as well. How much, Sanjay, will all of this impact the city and the market?
I would say, first of all, Thane is a smart city, and that's why you see 9 million people flocking there and growing even more.
That's a response Bangalore gives us as well, but we don't take that response. We lost out on the contest.
And with regard to infrastructure, that's the story across the country. It's just that the pace of development that the government prepares for and the development that actually happens on the ground, and thank God we are a democratic country and not autocratic, so we're not growing faster than what we think we can grow. We're just not able to cope. So I think it's a fundamental issue which I think government overall is trying to address. So let's remain practical that infrastructure will take some more time, but will it hamper growth? I don't think so.
Just the toll naka will hamper growth. The amount of time it takes to cross into the city of Thane.
Yeah, but Thane is much beyond the toll, I would say. Yeah. So you look at it from that point of view. It is one of the few districts in Maharashtra which has manufacturing, small and medium organization, port-based activity, IT sector activity, chemical zone areas.
Okay, tell us this. For all of the businesses that you just mentioned, if this is going to create jobs and this is going to create as a result demand for housing, what category of housing will it create demands for?
Predominantly 4,000 to 6,000 rupees per square feet, which basically means a small percentage will go towards luxury and premier in the Thane city or prime locations. Mind you, even Airoli, because Reliance is one of the biggest job creator on that road,
Right.
The values have shot up to 16 to 17,000 rupees per square feet in Airoli. While the volumes may not be that large, but the prices have gone up. And I think
Okay.
if this growth continues, so while majority may be in the mid segment and the low segment, because the IT jobs are very specific to that segment,
Right.
but there is a certain amount of mid-level
Yeah.
senior talent that comes in.
I'm glad you brought this up at this point because Niranjan Hiranandani joins us right now. Mr. Hiranandani, thank you for joining us. Sanjay says the biggest demand because of all of the jobs being created are for homes priced between 8 and 6,000 rupees, between 4 and 6,000 rupees a square foot. What's being priced between 4 and 6,000 rupees a square foot? We just took a look at the flash on Airoli. It's 7,500 rupees a square foot. Is there anything available? Are you building anything in that bracket, Mr. Hiranandani?
No, our price point and the level at which we have brought up the project is gone at a higher price point. So things have moved up the value chain in terms of over 10,000 rupees at the project level at which we are looking at. And but we have a mixed-use township which is now complete with all possible infrastructure that has happened. So besides the Godbanda road now being 14 lane, there's no lane, no road in Mumbai which is 14 lane, but in Thane we have the Godbanda road with all the flyovers with being 14 lane and all the other infrastructure which Boman just talked about coming online. So I think what is really happening is that we are seeing a lot of interest in terms of housing over there in the range of right from 5,000 rupees to 16,000 rupees that we are now seeing all across Thane city and the extended part of Godbanda road. Very positive movement towards that direction.
Wait, Sanjay, you were talking about the fact that infrastructure doesn't keep up, but prices seem to run away quite quickly. Prices on an average, and I'm looking at this, 1 crore rupees for a 2-bedroom in Thane. That's the base value. If you look at the projects we're talking about, the Hiranandani Estate project in Thane or the Rustomjee project, 1.2, 1.5 crore rupees if for a 2-bedroom apartment. Is it unaffordable? If I were to go in at this point and make that investment, what headroom do I have for growth?
No, I generally believe these are very attractive prices, first of all.
You just said 4 to 6,000
So
rupees.
that is one, but there are various price points within Thane.
Right.
So if you're in Pokhran Road 2, even 16,000 may actually seem less. Or if you're at Airoli in a prime luxury development, quality development, even 16,000
might seem less.
So it really depends. It's a very vast, diverse district. So if you go towards Kalyan, Dombivli, or near Bhiwandi and in certain pockets, these are very attractive pockets. And outsourcing sector, for example, majority may not be able to afford Pokhran Road 2 or Thane Estate or certain prime developments. So they would go beyond. But really there is that the mid-level and senior mid-level or senior level who would like to be close to their workplace, and they are paying a premium. And that's why Niranjan and Boman are able to sell those values.
5,000 homes. Mr. Hiranandani, 5,000 homes being built at the Thane estate for upper management. Are we creating enough jobs to occupy all 5,000 homes?
We've now got TCS coming in with 25,000 jobs in the next 2 years in one location within Hiranandani estate, which is quite a big number because over a period of time as manufacturing has come down in Thane, we do find in the city and suburbs, we really do find that there will need to create economic demand in terms of people who are having jobs, and now here we are creating large number of jobs coming in the next 2 years. So we do see that the economic activity and job creation is going very fast along with the growing housing market. So both of these are going to be meshed together, and you're really going to find a positive impact into the marketplace with infrastructure which is also moving at a wonderful pace.
Sanjay?
Not only that, Niranjan, just between Airoli and Juhinagar, close to 200 acres has been sold in last 12 months at an average of 6 to 7 crores an acre with an FSI of 3. I know 4 developments which are going to come with a combined office supply of 20 million square feet, minimum conservatively over the next 5 years. A lot of foreign developers are already queuing up for Thane district because the IT sector is going to tap the potential of this district fully. And I think, like I said earlier, we expect close to 35,000 jobs just between Thane and Thane and as Juhinagar, for example, and even in Panvel in certain pockets we've seen some traction.
You said 100,000 jobs, and since you're breaking stories on this channel, could you tell us what those 4 specific constructions, which companies are looking at them?
So this is, obviously these are real estate development companies. Aurum Builders is building close to 10 million square feet. Recently there was a land sale of 30 acres by an American corporation to a local developer, which has been sold. Pfizer land got sold 65 acres, by the way, at Turbe, for example. Another 30 acres at Airoli, which is getting into joint venture, and we know another 45 acres of former Hadilia Chemicals, which is also being developed into IT Park and SCZ. So these few developments
Anything is happening with IKEA in the Thane?
So there are certain companies, I understand that there is a mobile manufacturing company which is looking for a large piece of land on a similar location from China.
Okay.
And there is another, retail formats, and they are wholesale formats, whether it is IKEA and some other similar formats are also looking. So it's actually buzzing. And another reason, by the way, so much of interest lately is Thane has become the second cheapest FSI per square feet in the country.
Right.
So after Hinjewadi, which is about 600 rupees FSI for an IT park, and Thane, which nobody thought, generally there was a perception that Mumbai is the most expensive place, and therefore no IT company wanted to go there. But now it is cheaper than Bangalore outer ring road. It is cheaper than your Gurgaon extension road. For IT companies. And you need to understand, IT is very cost sensitive, and there was a perception that Mumbai is expensive.
Yeah,
but
so
myth has been broken.
So when you look at the whole country, you actually believe that any IT company expanding out of, say, a Bangalore will choose Thane instead of Pune or Hyderabad at this point?
Any company which has a very large employee workforce and is already heavily concentrated in Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, and is looking for an alternate location, Thane is the most attractive location in the country.
So the 13,000 rupees a square foot, which is what the R.Irani estate is being priced at right now, in 2 or 3 years, where do you expect that price to be?
So 13,000, clearly if you look at Powai only as an example, when Niranjan Nidani built, I mean, sir started maybe 2 decades ago at 1,800 or 2,000 rupees, and it is around 30,000 rupees. So depending on how you go about it with your industry and sector, it can really go up, but obviously it will not reach those levels in a short period of time. But you do expect sales velocity in next 2 years and 20 to 30% price over 3 to 4 years, conservatively.
R.Irani, what kind of clientele are you seeing visit this, this site office right now? Are they end users? Are they investors showing interest in Thane again? What's your experience on the ground?
Actually, Faye, I'm very intrigued by the fact that we're trying to move the customer towards, price appreciation rather than a value enhancement in his own life. I look at Thane as a place where I would want our future users to be people who really wanted to enjoy the space that Thane has to offer, the infrastructure facilities that Thane has to offer in terms of the schools, the hospitals, the colleges, engineering colleges out there, the places of entertainment, the shopping malls, and the entire new set of eateries that are opening up out there. I really don't want to look at Thane as a place that would be at, let's say, if it's 13,000 today, it should become, let's say, 18,000 in 3 years' time. I hope that there continues to be a great amount of good supply that comes into Thane, but basically the fact will remain that Thane will appreciate in certain pockets because the development in those pockets are good, and because of the virtue of the fact, because of the fact that there's a lot of land around over there, this new land will continue to provide housing for those who want to continue to buy it at a lower price. And one more thing, Faye, that you should know is Thane is the only place maybe that has the entire spectrum of development. You will get 1-room kitchen homes out there, you will get 1-bedroom home kitchen out there, and then going all the way up to 5- and 6-bedroom home kitchens out there, homes out there. My point is that if you can go ahead and give the entire spectrum of development, Thane will continue to be of interest to the buyer. And answering your question directly the way you asked it, yes, there is a great amount of interest coming from actual users or people who believe that they want to move towards Thane in the next 3 to 5 years, or want to create, let's say, the larger home that they can have in Thane. No longer is the consumer the one who, bet on appreciation and bought it, let's say, 5,000 rupees, hoping that he'd be able to exit at 7, 7.5 or 8. Today the consumer is more someone who is genuinely looking at living out there.
All right, Boman, as a quick, reaction to you, while it's a fair point that we should be looking at the quality of life that we can offer to customers, people who buy homes to live in at this point are looking at quicker cycles. So someone who gets into a 2-bedroom is hoping to upgrade to a 3 at some point, or to a 4-bedroom sometime later in their careers, which means that they're hoping that even the home that they're buying is going to keep up to market prices. Go on, Boman.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. As long as you continue to understand that you buy into a good project, you will appreciate far better than the rest of the market in that area. Number one. Number two is, I don't think you should use your home, of course, if you buy in Thane and then you're buying in Thane again after selling, the price parity will remain. More importantly, today there are very good financial schemes that are available that allow you to kind of, future bet on what your income will be in 2 years and 3 years time. Most developers are giving subvention schemes. Most developers are giving schemes where you buy an apartment that's slightly larger than the one that you wanted to go in for. So we're encouraging at Rustomjee people who would normally buy a 2-bedroom to actually come and pick up a 3-bedroom, because for a year and a half, we're paying the additional amount of what you wind up paying to the banks in terms of buying a larger home.
But give me a second.
Very, very importantly, which is what I continuously tell all my consumers, whenever you buy into a property that will give you satisfaction of residence rather than just the value appreciation.
Right. I have a consumer of yours on the phone line right now, Boman, so I'm going to interrupt you. Adnan is on the phone line from Delhi. Adnan, good evening. Go ahead. Tell us what your question is.
Hello?
Yes, Adnan, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, hello, I am holding, I'm invested in a flat in Rustomjee Acura.
Okay.
So, I was wondering, is it a good time to right now hold this property for some time, or, sell it off?
Why would you want to sell it at this point? Adnan?
I see, yeah, hello?
Why would you want to sell it at this point?
It was an investment property, so if the rates are going to be flat for some time now, so then does it make more sense to withdraw out of it, or if the appreciation potential is high, then probably it makes sense to hold. Another thing is, there is just in front of this property, overlooking is a big drain.
Okay.
And I was just wondering whether this will impact the rates of the property.
Boman, do you want to respond to a buyer?
So yeah, sure, Adnan, I think if you are in the need of money and you're looking at buying another home or doing whatever with the money, then it's a very good time to sell as of right now. But if you were ready to wait for a year and a half, which is when the entire shopping strip across the road would be ready, once that strip gets developed, you will obviously have a lot more interest in terms of population in that area, and at that point of time, it might be a better time for you to sell. But it's about property, it's about what you want to do with the money, and it's about really where you want to go next. If you're looking at buying another home in Rustomjee or in Thane area at a lower price, I suggest by all means go ahead and sell. This is a good time for you.
But also respond to his question about the drain that he's worried about that's in front of the building. Is there something being done about that?
Oh, definitely. Every single year, the departments go ahead and clean that nala out. As we know it, this nala is flowing through all the way from the national park and going all the way down. So this nala continuously gets cleaned. Over a period of time, there are trees being planted across on both sides of the nala that will be, in a way, covering that entire place. There's an entire strip. I don't know, Adnan, if you've been recently out there, but we've created a garden, which is actually a horticultural garden where if your kids came along, they'd understand the various fruits and the type of growing that takes place of that area. So all in all, that nala will, of course, it will take another 7 or 8 years before those trees really grow up to that height where they'd be able to kind of camouflage it. But it will be a lovely sight in a few years to come.
Adnan?
Okay.
Okay, I want to ask Sanjay a quick question. Sanjay, for someone who's made an investment in Thane at this point, great location, great construction quality, getting into the market to sell might actually be difficult, in a market like this. Would you recommend he actually adds to, the supply in the market and, puts his apartment on sale, or does it make sense for him to roll on for the 2 years you talked about?
That would be the normal reaction, this is a good time to buy, not to sell. But if the development has reached maturity where it has peaked in terms of value, and he's very clearly, explicitly said he's an investor, it may actually not be a bad idea to sell. And the
So in
point
fact,
being,
we're looking at Magicbricks, which is the location we're talking about where this project is located. It's gone up 12% in the last 2 years, and it's currently
But
trading
this
at 11.
project is ready to move into, and that makes the difference.
And it's ready to move into, and that makes a massive difference. So it's 12%. What can you expect, Sanjay, over the next 2 years if you were to hold for longer?
so clearly, I don't know what the per square feet price is today, Boman.
11? 12?
Just depends on which building he is in and what floor he is on, but let's say average about 10,500 rupees.
I genuinely believe that he's definitely, the prices have matured, and whether the returns vis-a-vis the next investment opportunity that the buyer is looking at, it may be a good time to sell.
All right, so Sanjay, that recommends a good time to sell. R.Irani actually says hold on for a little more time. Niranjan, Mira and Thane, I want to bring you into this conversation as well. For people who are looking at this market at this point, anybody who works in the CBDs of Mumbai, if I'm working in Lower Parel, if I'm working in, say, BKC, which is where a lot of us are located at this point, it's easier, like Boman pointed out rightfully, to travel through Thane than it is to go to, say, an Andheri or a Juhu or any of the other neighborhoods. Powai also in some cases. Would you recommend end users start looking at Thane at this point?
I think a large number of end users are already there. In fact, more than 5,000 apartments are already occupied in the estate and meadows. So it's already an end users market in more ways than one. And looking at the facilities which have come up, a hospital is coming up this year, schools are already operational in that area. As I mentioned to you, there are theatres which are now coming up, the shopping malls are already in existence. So I think all in all, the end user is already enjoying this market. From a point of view of a further investment, I would say that this is really a good time to get into the marketplace, because I don't see any way that there is any downside. Many times we have to also fear that there could be a downside, but now that chance of a downside is eliminated. So we are really looking at only the upside, which is not always the case in the case of real estate. So I would say, if I have to advise my friends as to what's to do, I would say this is the right time to buy.
Right,
As far as commercial is concerned, we just talked about it in Navi Mumbai and that area. I think the entire Thane, Ghodbunder, Navi Mumbai, Panvel belt is going to be into the IT and manufacturing areas. And Bangalore and Pune both, I think, are going to get good competition, because the price points which are now coming up in terms of commercial actually are matching Pune and Bangalore. So Mumbai is now available to the customer at the price of Bangalore. So I think that is the challenge which I think the other centers are going to face.
I'm just going
because after all,
I just want to pick up that one point that you said and take a closer look at it. Sanjay, Mr. R.Irani just said that there is going to be no downside going further. Now, again, I'm going to go back to the report that Kushman Wakefield came out of your company that said new apartment launches in Mumbai declined 37%. You said, property prices in Thane, like I said, went down on an average of 18%. Average ticket size has also come down. Is there any guarantee that there's no downside at all from Thane going forward, or do you think that, because you said in the beginning of the show, it'll take a year, it'll take 2 years for this kind of commercial activity to have an impact on residential, so might we possibly see a further downside for the next couple of quarters? Do you think that's behind us?
No, so clearly the fact that the number of launches have come down, price points have come down, everything has really gone down, so we're not pumping more supply in, given the current environment. And the developers are smart, they know there's no point over-committing in a market which has a certain velocity. But the good news is that this is the affordable belt in comparison to Mumbai, and giving you a better lifestyle, and it's closer to new opportunities for job. So that story and the kind of job creation that we're talking about, just from few sectors, is you don't talk about those kind of job creation in Mumbai city. You can only talk about such job creation outside of Mumbai city, because Mumbai city is heavily dependent on banking, financial services, media, which has different growth rate. The outsourcing industry and the IT industry, the manufacturing industry, the new entrants in that market, the capacity of container handling companies, for example, and the kind of infrastructure and the connectivity that this location has.
So
and also mind you, you have Arabian Sea on the west. There is nowhere to go. You can only go east.
Here, by that argument, Ambernath, Badlapur, further away from Thane, where the affordability is far lower, I can still buy an apartment for 20-30 lakh rupees. So for someone who's looking at that price bracket, does it make sense to go even further down from Thane? Because if the jobs are being created in Thane, it's automatically going to have an impact.
That has always been the case. So if you look at Mumbai, somebody who could afford South Mumbai and can't afford South Mumbai has gone to Bandra and beyond. And you've gone all the way to Boisar now, and we're talking about going even further. So it does make sense. Why it makes sense is because you have a good public transport railways connectivity available to you. So you may work in, let's say at Airoli or Thane city, and you travel another hour further down on the central line. By all means, it's still manageable.
You know, because I'm looking at the screen right now, Badlapur is currently priced at 3,500 rupees a square foot. It's gone up 12% in the last 2 years. Ambernath has gone up 25%. We haven't seen that sort of an uptick anywhere in the city, at least, or in any of our major areas. Do you think that going forward these two locations will be able to keep that up, Sanjay?
No, absolutely, because like I said, the IT outsourcing industry more specifically is creating maximum job in this price point. Young people, migrants or local can afford only these kind of houses. And there is a certain segment which will be able to afford more. They will live closer to the city.
All right, Dhaneshwar is on the phone line from Mumbai. Dhaneshwar, tell us what your question is.
Well, hello everyone. My question is, I just wanted to know, I have an existing, house around 1,000 square feet in Virar West, and it would be the right time to sell, I'm trying to look a property in Thane. So would it be right time, and which all projects I can able to look in?
Tell me something, is this the home that you live in right now?
Yeah, correct.
This is the home you live in, and what sort of offers are you getting for that home of 1,000 square feet?
Anything from about 45 to 50 lakhs.
45 to 50 lakh rupees. Sanjay, what will he be able to afford in Thane for 45-50 lakh rupees?
So clearly you maxed out and this
Actually, he will not be able to afford the Rustomjee property or the R.Irani property. So
Sure,
what's his third option?
No, but he can actually go certain pockets beyond and buy something under construction while still be able to fund it through a bank. Interest rates are coming down, by the way, making it very attractive. So you can really explore, but if you're in Thane, you're more strategic. And it depends also on the nature of work and the kind of industry that you work in. If you need to be on the western line, it's a different take. You may stay put. But if you want to change your lifestyle, go closer to some workplace, there are some more opportunities, you can explore Thane as well.
I want to ask you this, Sanjay. So he has two options here. Like you said, he can take the 40 lakh rupees, use it as down payment, leverage it, get a loan, and increase the amount of money that he's willing to spend. The other option is to go further away from Thane or to buy something under construction. There's a risk involved with buying something under construction that's in the launch phase. He'd be far better off, considering he's going to buy a home to live in, if he buys something that's close to possession or ready to occupy. Which of the two would you recommend?
I would say if you make all the right decisions on making an investment, whether it's credible developers, plan sanction approved, construction commence, chances of failures you've minimized. There can always be some delay, but losing your capital is the last thing that you will see, especially when the real estate bill is going to be in place. So I don't think it's that kind of risk.
Yeah, let's ask Dhaneshwar this. What's top priority for you when you're looking for a home? Do you want something that's ready to occupy? Do you want to be able to spend more? Are you looking at lifestyle for your children and your family? What's top of the list?
Yeah, it is ready to occupy and near to my job location, which would be in Thane.
Which is in Thane. Niranjan, R.Irani, do you have some advice to offer him?
Yes, there are lots of other things. Maybe the price point doesn't work in Hiranandani estate, but many of my adjoining brothers in the building industry are selling at the price point of about 6,000 to 8,000 rupees. So I think at that price point, if he would like to find something which looks interesting and is willing to take up a loan for the purpose of buying, I think there would be a lot of opportunities on Godpanda Road or otherwise. And I think it would be good for him to have a look at it, because ultimately it will be closer to the place of work and the quality of life is certainly fantastic. But he would have to check whether he would be able to afford the EMIs that we really need to pay at this point of time. With interest rates down, it's worthwhile looking at the EMIs and looking at bank loans for the purposes of building up a future house. So right time to look at it, maybe around the Godbonda Road, maybe down the line a little bit.
But Ganesh, you're a lucky guy, because there couldn't be a stronger panel talking about Thane right now than the three gentlemen on the panel with me. I want to very quickly understand from you where in Thane you work, and how much of a home loan would you be willing to take on the 40 lakh rupees or the 50 lakh rupees that your current home will release for you?
Yeah, Thane, I work near to the Godbandar only. Teenath Naka, and then this is the area, maybe 3 to 4 kilometers from Thane station.
Okay.
And probably I'm willing to take around 20-25 lakhs of loan.
All right, so that would take you up to maybe 70 or 80 lakh rupees. Boman, what can you afford? What can you afford on that ticket size?
So Ganesh, you're currently occupying a 2-bedroom hall kitchen flat. I think you would get a 2-bedroom hall kitchen flat in Thane itself, not necessarily in one of the high rises, but there are certain buildings that would still be able to afford you a good 2-bedroom at 75-80 lakh rupees, and these could be nearing completion or almost complete buildings that you'd get about possession about 3 to 6 months time.
All right, so we hope that helps. Is that enough? Daneshwar, do you have any more questions for us?
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Sanjay, if we look at the city of Mumbai, of course, we talked last week about Chembur possibly benefiting the most from all of the infrastructure that's coming up from BKC, from the roads that connected to BKC. If you compare Thane right now in terms of just infrastructure, the fact that, Ghatkopar, Vadala and Chembur have got a monorail, they've got the freeway, they've got the Santa Cruz Chembur link road, there'll be a new exit on the freeway that will connect it directly to BKC. There isn't enough, in my opinion, happening in Thane. We've had a lot of talk, but we've not heard enough, announcements. How much, is the Thane Municipal Commission going to have to pull its socks up to keep up with what's going on in the rest of the city?
So clearly a lot needs to be done on the infrastructure side. But I'll take you back to a bit of a history. That's exactly the kind of conversation I had almost 12 years ago, when in the media people were saying, well, Bandra will be able to really match up to Worli prices or Pedder Road prices or Malabar prices. Bandra was at 5,000 rupees per square feet. What's going to happen? BKC is not successful. And the same arguments were presented. And look at what's happened to Bandra. We're talking about 60 to 70,000 rupees per square feet. Bandra Kurla is thriving, and it's now considered a very expensive place in the country.
So do you think all neighborhoods do well, or just that the media asks?
No. I think you need to fundamentally depend. You need to base your argument on the fact: is this going to be economic activity?
Okay.
Is going to be investment in it? If the investment is coming to Thane, if there is foreign developers, foreign investors buying land today, like I said, almost close to 200 acres has been sold. I'm sure they must be thinking over a medium to long term what's going to happen. Then fundamentally again, you have 40 million population workforce, of which 85 is literate, tapping point within, approachable by public transport. What can technically go wrong in Thane? And like I said, on the other side is Arabian Sea. You can't even go on the west. You can only go east.
There's also a new BKC that's being considered in Thane, this backyard in Kalyan, Dombivli as well. How quickly do you expect that to happen, and what sort of impact will it have?
So reality check, nothing in India happens overnight. You can take it and granted that 5 years is a very easy sell. In some cases it takes even 10 years. But the good thing is it eventually happens, and probably it happens little late, but the fundamentals remain strong.
Okay, we want quick closing remarks from our guests, and what I want to ask you for is advice for anybody who's considering buying a home in Thane, whether it's location, whether it's the neighborhood, whether any sort of advice that you want to give us. Niranjan, Hiranandani, I'll start with you. What advice would you give someone who's buying a home in Thane right now?
I would bank on the future of the infrastructure coming up in Thane. For instance, if you realize the municipal commissioner has already started widening the Pokhran roads. We've got all the service roads on Godbandar Road, demolition taking place of all the encroachments and road widening taking up fast. So I would bank on the future of Thane tremendously. If I was a customer and I wanted to see whether the future quality of life and appreciation both are likely to be, Thane would be a place I would certainly vouch for at this present point of time. And I think the near future is going to see improvement in the quality of life as well as infrastructure that is taking place. There are lots of improvements in the lakes and other developments which is also taking place. So I think all in all, if you see less pollution, better quality of life, chances of appreciation very high, hopes for infrastructure to be developed in the near future, extremely good.
All right, so in our conversation with the municipal commissioner, he talked about a river or a waterfront project that he's looking at, which will be a public space. Of course, there's the ring rail coming up in Thane as well. So if you're going to buy in Thane, be as close to infrastructure as you possibly can be. R.Irani, what's your advice for someone who's buying in Thane?
I think beyond just the road networks, etc., which Niranjan has already said, you should look at the kind of garden spaces available. You should look at the overall open space, thanks to mangrove situated on one side and the forest situated on the other side. You should also look at the kind of schools that are coming up out there. Everybody is keen that their kids get into the best schools. Today, the best schools from Mumbai are moving over there in Thane because then they can develop a better infrastructure in that place. Some of the nicest hospitals have already set up base out there. Research centers have come out there. The municipal corporation is itself building very nice auditoriums, public libraries, public gardens. The waterfront development that you spoke about is a very ambitious project which will be spreading over about 3.8 kilometers if I'm not mistaken, and it will be like a promenade where the population of Thane can come and have a great evening. I think all these things which lead to a better life, and the fact that Thane is being chosen by most companies to expand is something that I would look at Thane for. Besides, of course, the fact of all the infrastructure that we mentioned earlier in terms of how to get in and out. I do not consider Thane to be appreciating in price only because it will have a feed from Mumbai. No, I think Thane will develop by itself. I think Thane will become the node or the hub for itself, and that is what will spawn all the good development around there.
All right, Sanjay, I'm not going to ask the other two panelists for locations within Thane because we both know, we know which locations that they would prefer to recommend. I'm going to ask you, out of the entire city, given everything we've talked about of infrastructure, job creation and the quality of life, if you were to pick the street or the location in Thane that will do the best in terms of...
So easy answer would be all location but these two gentlemen's location. But that is not the point.
All locations except the Rustomjee.
But to be honest, let's be fair. I mean, they have seen the price appreciation because it's closer to infrastructure, closer to economic activity. And no matter what decision that you make, whether for investment or end use, eventually maximum price will come where these two fundamentals, and when I say infrastructure, Boman said very rightly, including social infrastructure. So if you do that, irrespective where you are, closer or away, is the right location, and we should stick to those principles.
All right, so as close to the infrastructure as possible, social infrastructure as well. My personal advice to anybody who's buying property, whether it's in Thane or anywhere across the country, the reputation and the track record of the developer has never been more important. That's the top of the list. That's the #1 criteria. Even if you have to shell out a little more money, go with a developer who has a reputation to deliver quality, and to deliver quality on time. That is a non-negotiable. Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending time with me this evening talking about Thane. It's been a pleasure to have all three of you on the panel. We're out of time. Remember, if you have a question for us, email and contact details are going to be on your screen in a second. You can send it to us on Facebook, on our website, which is mbnow.in, and you can reach me personally on Twitter and give me any feedback you have about the channel you're watching. It will be my pleasure to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay with Magicbricks Now for more news and updates on the property market.